Alhamdulillah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulillah. Amma ba'd. Well, back on YouTube, just for a short video. Hope everyone's well. Let's quickly jump into the news and then we can talk, inshallah. But for the time being, I'm going to present. Present, share screen. And I'm going to present this one. There we go. Now, is that showing? Add to stage. There we go. So it's been a long time since I've read the Daily Mail. Let's just have a look. So the news for today, or this evening, Saturday, October the 25th, 2025. Reeves plotting mansion tax raid on homes. Chancellor's annual charge would punish hard work and aspiration, critics warn. Okay, she plots a mansion tax. Okay. The owners of properties worth £2 million and above would face a charge of 1% of the amount by which the property exceeds that value every year. So a £3 million property would face a bill of £10,000 a year. Okay, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what right does she have to take something that belongs to you? It's crazy. Then we have extremist left-winger Catherine Connolly, who said Israel behaved. Why is she an extremist left-winger? Anyway, Catherine Connolly, who said Israel behaved like a T-state and called H part of the civil society of Palestine, is confirmed as new Irish president at Dublin Castle after landslide triumph. What? Look at that. The Zionists are losing their mind. Oh dear. Mark Smith, big up. Okay, this is long time, bro. Yeah, good, thanks. How are you? All right, who else we got? Kim Kardashian claps back after Northwest trolled. British tourist 56 is killed in fall from Canary Islands hotel balcony after railing broke, with fellow holidaymaker 54 left critically injured. Okay, for some reason, they thought that's important for us to know. Fake baby scandal takes a truly dark twist. Kyra Cousins' friend breaks silence on her other fakery. Okay, again, why is that important? Why is that news? Nelly Furtado announces she's quitting music amid cruel body shaming attacks. Yeah, she has. Her body has changed somewhat. Reform MP says sorry after backlash when she complained about adverts full of black people, full of Asian people. Well, ever since the BLM stuff, I think we've all noticed a change in TV commercials. Fresh Labour chaos as new deputy leader Lucy Powell challenges Starmer and says he's let Farage run away with it. My sources tell me these are Rachel Reeves' hugely damaging plans for tax, pensions, and your savings. Be very afraid, warns Jeff Prestridge. I'm Madeline, and this is what I have to say to Lily Allen. Okay, cares about that? It's all junk. Absolute rubbish. Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman return to Strictly for the first time since announcing their exits as the emotionally addressed viewers. Well, I don't know much about Tess Daly, but Claudia Winkleman is a completely talentless person who somehow found herself in a very lucrative and high-paying job at the BBC. Like, what's she famous for? Wearing lipstick that's the same color as your skin and covering your eyebrows and wearing lots of eyeliner. What's her talent? Stephen Fry's friend reveals comedian was minutes from death after whacking cocaine up his nose. Yeah, do I care? It's no surprise. I think most celebrities are using cocaine. Tanwir Ahmed, where you been? Yeah, bro. Big up everyone. Joe Baz, walaikum salam. Yeah, been around, bro. Been around. Inside Andrew's family summit. How Fergie wailed and melted down at title loss. Beatrice and Eugenie were blindsided, and now daughter's assets face ethics check to avoid more scandal. What happened to this one? Why is she so skinny like that? It's a bit sad. Grooming gang victims who quit inquiry hit back at joint letter sent by Keir Starmer, accusing him of making a mockery of survivors. Yeah, okay. Tourist plunges to his death in Rome. Okay. After falling 22 feet from walls of Pantheon in front of his horrified daughter. Okay. They keep telling us about people who fall to their deaths. Is that some type of anchoring, some type of programming they're doing to make us accept or be more aware of deaths by falling? Perhaps there's some type of false flag related incident they're going to push our way. My name's been dragged through the mud, claims Loose Women star Kay Adams as she breaks silence over BBC bullying probe. It's all junk news and junk people. Like, Moment TV presenter Narinder Kaur is escorted by police after facing right-wing protesters as she tells hordes hurling vile racist and sexual abuse at her. If I remember correctly, that surname indicates she's a Sikh. It's like the female version of Singh, Kaur. So, Big Brother. Oh, she was on Big Brother, was she? I had no idea. She was escorted away by police after confronting right-wing protesters in central London. Footage shows the TV personality being led away by officers in Knightsbridge near Hyde Park at a counter-protest against a planned UKIP demonstration. Speaking at the demonstration, Miss Kaur said Tommy Robinson, Nick Tenconi from UKIP. They're causing divisiveness and hatefulness. Brown and black people feel unsafe right now. My parents came to this country and they've contributed to this country. London's most brutal gangs exposed. They've left a trail of bodies. Now, our special investigation reveals the 102 gangs, where they operate, their grotesque scoreboard, and the savage methods they use to off rivals. Okay, let's check this out. Let's actually click this article. All right, well, let me switch over here. Reform MP Sarah Pochin, furious at black people in adverts. Reform MP apologized for being racist. I don't know about being furious, but you must have noticed like adverts are completely like full of anyway, let's get back here. London's most brutal gangs exposed. Yeah, we read that already. This is written by Paul Brachy and Tim Stewart. Why does the article need two people? Let's read. You have to go through all these ads to get to the article, do you? Looks like there is no article. There's actually no story. Unless it's behind the paywall. Yeah, subscribe to continue reading. So I'm not going to do that. I don't know who on earth subscribes to any of these things, but that's it really. I don't see anything else to really look at on this junk piece of toilet paper. I will go over here, see what's on the YouTube shortly. Okay. What should I check out? Anything interesting that you'd like me to review or read? I can go to Arab News. Some people like this newspaper for some reason. Rubio vows return of all hostage bodies to Israel. This guy apparently was interviewed before, he took up position in the government. He was interviewed by this guy called Larry Ellison. When I say interviewed, he was invited to dinner. Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle, it's a software company, and now he's bought TikTok. Guess what religion he is? Yeah. Anyhow, Rubio vows return of all hostage bodies to Israel. U.S. Secretary of State, we will not rest until there and all remains are returned. Okay. U.S. staging drone flights over Gaza to monitor ceasefire. Lebanon says one blah 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 in Israeli strike on vehicle. Okay. Possibilities between the UK and Saudi Arabia are enormous. Lord Mayor of the City of London tells Arab News. Okay, let's see what he's got to say. Alastair King says the City of London aims to foster deep UK-US partnership, UK-Saudi partnerships across sustainable infrastructure and finance. So you want to push them into riba, do you? You want to push them into debt, basically. Green finance. What's green finance? It is an institution that dates back a millennium, with local settlement in its area of governance traced back to Roman Britain and earlier, London that is. It is seen of successive economic threats, catastrophe in Europe, and most recently Brexit-related shocks. It once served as the engine of the British Empire, becoming the financial centre of wealth and capital drawn from colonies around the world. But now the City of London has set its eyes on the cities and sands of Saudi Arabia, hoping to spearhead a new business relationship that will see the kingdom's ambition enshrined in Vision 2030 fused with centuries-old British prowess in finance and management. Alastair King, the city's Lord Mayor, is set to embark on the third visit of his mayoralty to Saudi Arabia next week to take part in a follow-up meeting that will build on a pioneering assembly launched in Riyadh earlier this year. The meeting will take place on the sidelines of the 9th edition of the Future Investment Initiative, Saudi Arabia's landmark non-profit foundation that has enticed heads of state, top business executives, and thought leaders to the kingdom. Hosting the UK-Saudi Sustainable Infrastructure Summit alongside the world's top business minds is very, very helpful and presents all sorts of opportunities, King told Arab News. It is a very new way of doing things. I really like the idea that the Assembly is a multidisciplinary group from Saudi Arabia and also from the UK. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Well, look, it's an area I've had the great honor to know a little bit about, he said. I've done a fair bit of business over the years in the GCC, that's the Gulf Cooperation Council, and in Saudi Arabia. I've been there a few times beforehand. Okay, good. The strange juxtaposition of the city sees livery officials codify the practices of traditional London professions such as haberdashery and the trading of precious metals, while financial workers in nearby offices oversee billions of dollars worth of enterprise each day. The origins of the city itself can only be speculated upon, as its formation lacks reference to any surviving record or charter. Rather, its incorporation rests upon the ancient doctrine of prescription, whereby the law presumes its status because it has, for a significant passage of time, been regarded as such. The city-state is enshrined in one of history's most iconic documents of liberty and freedom, the Magna Carta, which provides the basis for English common law. London was the only city mentioned by name in the document. Its 13th clause states that the City of London shall have all its ancient liberties and free customs, both by land and by water. For King, the rich history of common law is a strong selling point for foreign investors from the Gulf. The other thing about us, of course, is that if things go wrong, we have perhaps the best dispute resolution system in the world, in the form of the English common law, in order to help sort all that out, he said. And I think that's really important, and it reduces again the potential frictions and also the cost of doing business. Okay. Muhammad al-Budalwi. Al-Budalwi. He's the Secretary General. His name is Jassim. So he's probably Kuwaiti. They love that name. Okay, what else have we got here? Sport. Just football. Tennis. Basketball. Basketball sucks, man. Neom. Okay, so that's enough of Arab news. What shall we check on YouTube? Let's see. Is there anything interesting on YouTube, guys? I know. What's her name? The Muslim mum. She watches videos, right? And then summarizes everything that they say in the video. So we could.
Every Arab state colluded.
Oh, this is an interesting point.
With the U.S. and Israel in order to see that the people of Gaza were crushed by the Israeli genocide.
What do you think of that statement? He said every Arab state colluded with Israel. What do you think? Is that true?
Every Arab state colluded with the U.S. and Israel in order to see that the people of Gaza were crushed by the Israeli genocide. The Arab world left Israel a free hand to murder the people of Gaza. Every Arab state was happy to see Gaza pulverized so that they can re-enter that normalization that was going to occur before October 7th. All the Arab slaves and stooges would like to see Hamas disarmed.
Well, he's not lying, is he? I mean, the last time Trump was president, they signed this thing called the Abraham Accords with the UAE and the United States. And during that signing, I remember them saying that they had plans for Gaza to rebuild it into some type of new Dubai. And that the UAE was going to help Israel in building and operating the Gaza Strip on their behalf. That was back in Trump's first presidency. Now let's see if that video still exists. If we say Abraham Accords signing. 5 years ago, apparently. So if we click this.
Wenn Sie in einer solchen Position schlafen, ruinieren Sie Ihren
Why am I getting German?
oberen
ads?
Atemwege.
Yeah, there's this dog, this filthy, despicable animal. Look at his face over here. This guy. I don't know which Arab country he's from the UAE possibly. Let's listen.
The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and His Highness, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the United Arab Emirates, will sign.
That's the filthy pig who was complaining that Western countries allow Muslims freedoms. Yeah. Special kind of pig right there.
A treaty of peace, diplomatic relations, and full normalization. They will each sign 3 copies, one in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. We kindly ask that all guests remain seated for the signing of the documents.
Let me tell you something, right? See this guy, Donald Trump? He's proud to say he's a Christian. He's proud to say that he's doing things for God according to his religion. And this guy here, Netanyahu, he's proud to speak about doing things according to his religious beliefs. When he fights a war, he fights quoting his Bible. He's fighting an enemy he calls Amalek. These people, however, everything they do is about international law. They don't quote their own religion. They're not proud of Islam. And this sums up very simply and succinctly the cause of the state of the Ummah. You got filthy, disgusting animals like this, and you got people on kufr who are more proud of their kufr and following their kufr than Muslims are with the truth. These shayateen, these munafiqeen.
Can you be helpful here in telling me your mind?
You do the same to me in Arabic.
I will.
They're so happy to sit with their master. This guy who would happily slaughter them. Without any reservation. How can you watch this and not feel disgust? You feel like vomiting looking at these people. Drooling over their kuffar masters. Look at his face. Dog. The mistake Muslims are making, we blame Netanyahu and Donald Trump for our problems. They're the wrong ones to blame. We need to blame ourselves. We have these kind of filthy dogs ruling our affairs. If someone has no regard for his religion, why should the kuffar have regard for your religion?
The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and the Minister of the Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Bahrain will now sign.
Guys,
of Bahrain,
no
of
idea
Israel.
how to behave. Look at him.
The-
Trump gives him a pen. Watch how he responds.
The President of the United States.
He wanted to bow to him. He didn't know what to do. Look, you're crazy. Look at his face.
The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and the Minister of the Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Bahrain will now sign the Declaration of Peace. They will each sign 3 copies, one in English, Hebrew, and Arabic.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. What do you want?
I'm good here.
You're not going to pawn bomb me, are you?
No. I'm not gonna porn bomb you or nothing.
Okay. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
I do have a channel.
Yeah. What's it called?
Yeah. It's called Justin's Retro Stuff TV show channel.
Okay.
And if you want to subscribe there, it's okay.
Sure. And what's your channel about?
I do different retro videos.
What do you mean retro?
I talk about movies, room tours, streaming services.
Okay, cool. Which country are you located in then?
California.
Okay. Nice.
I'm 34.
All right, cool. Did you have a channel before?
I made my channel September 2024.
Did you have a channel called Blue Gamer before?
Nope.
No, okay, that's someone else. Okay. Yeah, so what's going on in your country?
Doing pretty good.
You know Gavin Newsom?
Yeah.
He's your governor, right?
Yep.
So do you support him or Trump?
Actually support Governor Newsom.
Okay. Fantastic. And what do you think of Israel?
Good.
You like Israel?
Yeah.
Why?
The awesome country.
What's awesome about it?
It's where Jesus were in there. Yeah.
Do you think Jesus would like Israel?
Yeah.
Why would he like people who ended his life?
It's awesome state.
Yeah, but they didn't like Jesus, do they?
Nope.
So why would he like them?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
What did you like about him?
He's an awesome person.
Cool. So tell me, what would you like to tell the world? What message do you have for humanity?
Make America great again.
Make America great.
Yep.
Cool. What makes America great? What's great about it?
A bunch of different apps that people with.
Apps.
Yep.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Well, it's nice meeting you, Mr. Retro Stuff TV.
Nice meeting you too.
Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
And yeah, if anybody's interested in retro stuff, you can check out Justin's channel. So back to this Abraham Accord stuff. I'm trying to find the one which was it may have been on Fox News actually. We'll see if they have it. Check this out. Why is Flying Tiger popular? I don't know what they sell.
In a stunning diplomatic overture, US President Donald Trump met with interim Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara in Saudi Arabia on Wednesday and urged him to pursue normalization of ties with Israel. Trump said al-Shara had agreed to join the Abraham Accords and eventually recognize Israel. But
Wow, this Syrian guy said he's going to join the Abraham Accords, huh? What?
Syria hasn't confirmed that. Trump, in his speech in Riyadh on Tuesday, expressed hope that Saudi Arabia would soon join the Abraham Accords and recognize Israel, while acknowledging that it would do so in its own time. Abraham Accords and recognize Israel, while acknowledging Tuesday expressed hope that Saudi Arabia would soon join the Abraham Accords and recognize Israel, while acknowledging that it would do so in its own time. Saudi Arabia long has maintained that recognition of Israel is tied to the establishment of a Palestinian state along the lines of Israel's 1967 borders. The Abraham Accords are landmark agreements brokered by the United States in 2020 that normalize diplomatic relations between Israel and several Arab nations, including the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco.
These accords are basically,
Wow, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco are part of the Abraham Accords. What?
normalizing relation between these countries.
That is crazy.
And
That's a mad thing. It's a mad thing.
These countries are
Crazy
weak
thing.
and dependent on United States for security. So this accord becomes very important for Israel and for Americans.
Now, where is that original?
The Abraham Accords marked a significant shift in Middle East geopolitics as the signatories recognized Israel without waiting for a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Accords are named after Abraham, a
Look at that
revered
evil guy's
patriarch in
face.
Judaism, Christianity,
Disgusting.
and Islam, making him a unifying figure.
I am now the only person able to unlock these high security doors.
AI processing.
And Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed, United Arab Emirates, UAE, thank you very much. And Foreign Minister Abdulaziz Al Zani of Bahrain, thank you. Thank you very much.
Abdulatif is what he said.
We're here this afternoon to change the course of history. After decades of division and conflict, we mark the dawn of a new Middle East. Thanks to the great courage of the leaders of these three countries, we take a major stride toward a future in which people of all faiths, in a few minutes,
Yes, fast forwarding through it.
there are more to follow. Congratulations. Back.
Wenn Sie in einer solchen Position schlafen, ruinieren Sie Ihren Körper und Ihre Atmung. Obstruktive Schlafapnoe tritt auf, wenn Ihre oberen Atemwege während des Schlafs wiederholt
Over enmity, prosperity over poverty, and
Man will einfach erstens Angst verbreiten bei mir und meiner Frau.
Well, it's one advert after another.
successfully brokered the historic peace that we are signing today, a peace that has broad support in Israel, in America, in the Middle East, indeed in the entire world. I am grateful to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates and to you, Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed. I thank you both for your wise leadership and for working with the United States and Israel to expand the circle of peace. I am grateful to King Hamad of Bahrain and to you, Foreign Minister Abdul Latif Al-Zayani, for joining us in bringing hope to all the children of Abraham. To all of Israel's friends in the Middle East, those who are with us today and those who will join us tomorrow, I say, Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto thee.
Oh, gosh.
Shalom. And you have heard from the President that he is already lining up more and more countries. This is unimaginable a few years ago, but with resolve, determination, a fresh look at the way peace is done, this is being achieved. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's hear this. I just came across this video. Oh, well, I haven't seen it, but let's see what he's got to say. The title looks interesting. Mr. Asim Hakim. Okay. $100. You can get a counseling session with Asim Hakim if you pay $100 for half an hour. Wow. So that means $200 an hour. If you used to work 8 hours a day, well, take an hour off for break and another hour off for a couple of smaller breaks. So let's say 6 hours a day. He's going to get $1,200 per day just doing counseling. Sponsor a counseling session for someone who cannot afford it. Anyhow, what's he got to say?
Sheikh, I have a question. I enrolled in a course of Amazon selling. I learned from Amazon selling 3 months. Then I came to know that Amazon supporting Israel. So I stopped working on Amazon. Then I start finding something else to do, such as digital marketing. So I find that every platform is controlled by Jews, and they are.
Okay, so basically speaking, we spoke about this. So
why did he cut the guy off? Did you notice that? The moment he said every platform is owned by a particular religion, he cut him off. Censorship, boy. Okay, let's say what are you going to say?
So many times. What is the ruling on boycotting such products that are owned or they are known to support, or the governments of such companies support generously Israel, directly or indirectly? And we said that boycotting is something that is beneficial. The Prophet did it, alayhi salatu wasalam. But at the same time, the Prophet dealt, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with Jews, with Byzantines, with Persians, while still having conflict and wars with them, which meant that business as usual. Not only that, Thumama ibn Athal, may Allah be pleased with him.
I'm sorry, did he say that the Prophet ﷺ did business with the people he was at war with? Business as usual. I mean, are you sure about that?
When he accepted Islam, he boycotted all types of wheat and grain shipped to the idol worshippers in Mecca. So they felt the pressure and they were in deep need of such wheat and grain. after few months, the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, who were still fighting him, sent envoys to the Prophet begging him to reconsider the ties of kinship between them and to allow the wheat and grains to come to them. So the Prophet uplifted the embargo and allowed it to go in. What does this tell you?
Well, it means there was an embargo. It wasn't business as usual. And he allowed one particular type of product, according to your example. Not all products.
They were idol worshippers. They were enemies. They killed the companions. But the Prophet ﷺ uplifted the embargo. So this is a personal preference. If you want to boycott because you feel that it would hurt those who support Israel, good for you. This is your personal way of doing it.
I didn't understand what he just said, the way he's explaining it. I think a reasonable understanding of this would be, yes, you're going to automatically embargo or cease trade with any country that you're going to be in opposition with or at war with. That's understandable. That's a default position. So boycotting is the default. Now, if there's some type of negotiation, you may agree to give an exception for particular, things that you agree upon between the two parties. So that's fine. But he's saying boycotting in essence is just, it's up to you if you want to do it. I don't see it that way. According to what he just described, the default is to embargo or to boycott, to sanction.
Doing it. But if you see someone not doing it or consuming their cheeseburgers or fried chicken.
This is a false equivocation. This guy, I can't take this guy seriously. Can you listen to that? Understand things the same way as he does. This is the problem with taking knowledge from people who haven't even got GCSEs. Don't belittle the basic knowledge that you have coming from the West. You've gone through infant school, primary school, secondary school, college, even university. Your whole life has been education. These people, I don't know, they have a weird way of thinking, some of these guys. They're not educated like you and I. They can't think straight. And you can see the flaws in their logic. Sheikh. All you have to do is say Yani all the time and you're automatically considered a sheikh. Speak with an accent.
You cannot blame them and say, oh, shame on you. You're drinking their soft drinks. No, it's not. It's halal. So
he's not a sheikh, this guy. I don't know who he is. What qualifies him to talk about Islam? You're talking about British affairs or American affairs, and you're not one of them.
I am a reaver, and I was taught how to
I'm a reaver.
That means every single time I pray,
the person who told me gets the reward.
5 times a day, from Fajr to Isha.
If you want to support someone
Isha. What's Isha?
like me,
I'm turning into Uncle Omar, I keep complaining. I'm becoming grumpy.
in learning Salah,
then sponsor 10 people for just £100. Remember the Prophet.
So why you got a plaster in your head? What's going on, Ali
in
Dawa?
learning Salah,
Then sponsor 10 people for just £100.
Yeah, what's that? What happened there?
Remember the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, charity does not decrease wealth. Click the button and donate now.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of
Yeah,
this video.
big up sister Muslim mum. I don't know why Uncle Omar is always insulting her. What's she done to him? What has she done to hurt his feelings? She's all right, man. She's all right.
More so than his fellow panelists, who are Muslim and Arab. Norman Finkelstein fearlessly called out Arab governments for not coming to the aid of Palestine, whilst Israel committed genocide in Gaza. I would say we could extend this sentiment out to the majority of Muslim countries, with only a few exceptions. Let's watch the first clip.
Not even a week into this latest ceasefire, and it already looks as if it could be under strain. There's no doubt that given the scale of destruction across the Gaza Strip, it was always going to be a complex task to retrieve the bodies of all the hostages taken during the October 7 attacks and return them to Israel. But that is exactly what Hamas signed on to, agreeing to do it within 72 hours. And yet it has failed to uphold that side of the agreement. And that has caused consternation across the border in Israel. Norman, are you surprised that this ceasefire is already looking shaky?
There are two things to say. Number one, I find it positively disgusting that you're framing this as a failure on the part of Hamas. Can you really not be aware that there are 50 million tons of rubble in Gaza? Are you not aware that according to the international humanitarian organizations, it'll take until the year 2050 to clear out the rubble in Gaza?
And yet Hamas knows this too, but they still agree to it.
Excuse me. If Hamas says it can't find some of the bodies in the rubble, you're now blaming them for that? Can you possibly comprehend how outrageous a statement that is?
Okay.
And the fact that while we're all talking about the buried hostage bodies in Gaza, there are literally, conservatively, thousands of Palestinian bodies buried in Gaza. Are you not concerned about them as well?
It's not a zero-sum game. We can be concerned about both things at the same time.
Yeah, but you didn't mention the other bodies.
So the platform this took place on was Al Arabiya, which is a UAE and Saudi Arabia-backed channel, two countries whose leaders are allied with Israel. And as you saw, the way things were being presented on this show was very similar to how the Western media portray their agenda-driven news, which makes me suspicious that there is Zionist involvement in this media company also. Why else would they present a genocide as if it was a two-sided conflict, using language that absolves Israel of any blame? Norman Finkelstein was correct to express disgust at the presenter lady for only showing concern for deceased Israeli hostages, without even mentioning the tens of thousands of dead Palestinians that are missing under 50 million tons of rubble. Norman expressed equal disgust at the presenter for framing ceasefire violations as not being Israel's fault, especially since Israel has violated the ceasefire on a daily basis over the past couple of weeks since it was signed. Let's watch the next clip.
When it comes to Hamas, it's really, really, really hard to defend the devil, because Hamas is no lesser a devil than Israel, in spite of the fact that Israel is the aggressor. If Hamas fails to deliver the remains of the Israeli hostages, I think Israel will find the proper excuse to launch the war once again.
What's going to happen, in my opinion, after each of Israel's high-tech killing sprees in Gaza, namely Operation Cast Lead in 2008-9, Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, Operation Protective Edge in 2014, and even after Israel murdered 10 passengers on the Mavi Marmara in 2010. After each of those events, those high-tech killing sprees, Israel promised to lift the blockade of Gaza. Did it lift the blockade? No. Each time the international community said the blockade of Gaza was illegal and unsustainable. Did that stop Israel from continuing the blockade? No. And the events of October 7th were a direct result of this brutal medieval blockade of Gaza. There is no reason to suppose that this time Israel is going to even relax, let alone lift the blockade of Gaza. What will happen is, once the cameras disappear, when I say cameras, I mean the international cameras, once they disappear, we're going to return to the status quo ante October 7th with one big difference. There's nothing left in Gaza. 95% of the housing in Gaza has been pulverized. 70% of the hospitals have been destroyed. Half the schools have been destroyed. There's nothing left. And so Israel has achieved its goal. Its goal, as it announced it in the first week, was to make Gaza unlivable, so as to give the people of Gaza two choices. Choice number one, to stay and starve, or choice number two, to leave. You have to be certifiably insane to believe that Israel, after devoting 2 whole years to leveling Gaza is now going to rebuild it for the Palestinians.
The fact that the Arabs on the panel were framing the evil the Israeli regime is guilty of committing as being on par with anyone is completely disingenuous. Again, there was no mention of the numerous ceasefire violations Israel has committed.
Again, you idiot Muslims are complaining about Netanyahu and Israel. They're sticking to their deen. They're killing people. Sorry, whatever the word is that you're allowed to use on YouTube. They're destroying people according to their religious beliefs. Okay, or their twisted understanding of their religious beliefs. But Muslims, it's not just the blockade is not just from Israel. There's a border with Egypt. Why aren't the Egyptians helping? At least let the Palestinians leave. Why force them to starve? Allow them to leave. Let the Muslims leave that place. Give it to them, right? Regroup. Strategic retreat, or whatever the word is, yeah? If you're not going to either do that or support them. Leave them in their country, but give them help. Either help them or help them stay and fight, or help them leave. But don't just leave them trapped. Muslims are the problem. It's difficult to understand why somebody would want to become a Muslim or take the Shahada in this day and age when they see that Muslims are like this. No pride over their religion, no honor, no brotherhood. The concept of brotherhood in Islam is treated as some type of extremist position. Everything is now tribal. So it's the Jewification of Islam, basically, tribalism. And again, you got this Muslim mum. I'm going to be critical of you today. I like the fact you scour the internet and find interesting interviews and put them up. But at the same time, you're a bit dumb by blaming the enemy for being an enemy. Why are you blaming them? Blame Muslims. Muslims are the problem.
Norman Finkelstein, however, gave many historical
All of us Muslims, we are the problem.
examples of the Israelis' post-ceasefire oppression over the decades, which he claimed led up to October 7th happening in the first.
Michael Jackson nailed it. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Make that change. Yeah, Muslims do that.
First place. As Norman said, the likelihood is that Israel will do the same thing this time around, with the only difference being 90% of Gaza has been completely destroyed, which Norman claimed was Israel's goal all along with starvation, genocide and land theft. Let's roll the next clip.
I almost disagree with every word Norman said. We can't really go back to 2010 every time we're discussing the agreement of last week. What I like to see happen is, number one, for each party who signed on the first phase to uphold the first phase. Why was this divided into phase 1 and phase 2? It's mainly because Hamas refuses to disarm. And disarmament is not only an Israeli request, it's a request by everyone, including, like I said, Qatar and Turkey and Saudi Arabia and the UAE and everybody else.
May I ask the representative of the Foundation for the Defense of Washington's Slaves and Stooges? He seems to be so emphatic that Hamas has to disarm. Hamas killed approximately 1,200 Israelis, 800 of whom were civilians. That's what Israel...
That's a lie anyway. We know that was a lie. We saw the interviews with that Israeli woman, for example, who said that they came to her house, they offered her a banana from her own fruit, and they said, we're not going to harm you because we're Muslims. Yes, all this stuff, and we know that the Israelis did the Hannibal Directive and slaughtered their own people. So I don't like how Norman Finkelstein makes these claims as though they're factually correct.
On average did every week for the last 2 years. Right now, there's a consensus in the international community that it was not Hamas the past 2 years, it was Israel that was committing genocide in Gaza. It was Israel that killed not 30 children on October 7th, but at bare minimum, 20,000 children. This representative of the defense of Washington's slaves and stooges.
Defense of democracy.
Why aren't you asking for Israel, who by international consensus was committing genocide in Gaza? Why aren't you asking for them to disarm? Mr. Slave and Stooge.
Okay, it's Mr. Hussein Abdul Hussein.
I'll just ignore the ad hominem because that's not my way of debating. I'll stick to the ideas.
You're a slave and a stooge.
Someone who is invested in that part of the world. When Israel and Lebanon were at war, I have family and friends who were suffering that war. I was not just sitting in New York and trying to pick a fight with Israel. Israel can do whatever it wants to do. My concern is on the other side. I want the Lebanese, I want the Palestinians, I want family I grew up with. And
your concern is your paycheck. Your concern is your paycheck.
We can disagree on points, but we will be respectful to our other panelists. You can.
This woman.
We're not going to call names, woman. We're going to disagree on points, but we're not going to.
The fact that the Arab panelist attempted to discredit Professor Finkelstein by disregarding his historic pattern recognition of Israel's war crimes was disgraceful. This man went on to speak about how clauses in the ceasefire deal should solely benefit Israel, and even listed off Arab and Muslim nations that are in support of such a shameful proposal. Mr. Finkelstein correctly labelled this guy and others like him as total sellouts that are only concerned about their paycheck instead of what's morally right. As Norman said, shouldn't the onus be on Israel to disarm as part of a peace deal rather than anyone else, considering that they have just killed hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza over the last 2 years? As Norman stated, Israel's genocide in Gaza was the equivalent of hundreds of October 7s back-to-back, resulting in a minimum of 20,000 children being killed. And like he said, anyone who tiptoes around these facts does not deserve any respect. Let's watch the next clip.
If you ask me prior to October 7th what the ideal solution would be with Hamas, it would be for Hamas to hand in its weapons to the Palestinian Authority, to reinstall the Palestinian government in Gaza, to probably create a government of national unity. That was possible. That was realistic. Hamas rejected all this. Instead, they decided to go this path, this dangerous path, and we ended up with Gaza completely destroyed. People are on the street. The situation as it is well known to everyone. How do we go from here? If Hamas doesn't carry on its commitments according to the plan it has signed, Israel will find the excuse to restart the war.
It's regrettable that your two other guests seem not to be aware of what Hamas agreed to. I am not here to defend Hamas, and I am not here for no reason at all because I have some particular personal animus towards the state of Israel. I have only two concerns: what's truthful and what's just. Now let's start with the truthful. Your two guests, if they are capable of reading, will know
we are
that
capable.
Hamas agreed. Okay, then you are. Then let's remember, what was Hamas's statement? Did Hamas agree to disarm? In its statement, did it agree to disarm? Let's have a simple yes or no. Did Hamas, in its reply to the 20-point so-called peace plan, ceasefire plan, did it agree to disarm? Or did it make an explicit stipulation that those questions or their response to those questions would come later? Did they agree to disarm?
I really don't care what Hamas says, but I've heard what Mr. Trump, your president,
I didn't ask you what you care about.
They said,
you're blaming Hamas for breaking the agreement. So I'm asking a simple question. It's not difficult.
I didn't, Mr.
It's not
Mr. Finkelstein. Hamas has not yet broken the agreement. This still is to be seen. They may honor the agreement.
Thank you. Let's hear it from the other guys. Did Hamas agree to disarm?
First of all, I find it ironic that the New Yorker is lecturing two Arab natives on what should and should not happen between Hamas and the other guys. We want Hamas to be disarmed long before the war in Gaza happened.
I agree with you. All the Arab slaves and stooges would like to see Hamas disarmed. I agree with that point. Israel just committed a genocide in Gaza, and you're blaming the whole thing on Hamas. And that's pretty disgusting.
I did not say that. Language is English.
Repellent reptile. You're a reptile. Hamas attempted international diplomacy. Hamas attempted.
you calling them a reptile? That's something that David Icke would say, right? But again, I'm not sure if he used the word reptile for this. Is he using the word reptile for a specific meaning? Like, what is it about? What's reptilian about his behavior that he's pointing out?
Nonviolent civil resistance, the Great March of Return, that began March 30th, 2018. You have a paycheck to earn.
Like Norman said, it's regrettable to hear Arab panelists speaking on a Saudi UAE news platform parroting back talking points that favour Israel. As Professor Finkelstein stated, this is not about taking sides, it's about what's right and wrong. As we saw, the Lebanese panellist again tried to discredit Norman Finkelstein by claiming that as a Westerner he cannot lecture Arabs about Palestine, to which Norman responded brilliantly by saying Arabs who sell out to Israel are in no position to make such demands. The fact that this panel put the blame of the Gaza genocide on anyone except for the Israelis was reptilian, as Norman put it. Let's watch the last clip.
One of the biggest criticisms, though, that we've heard recently was that recognition of a Palestinian state was a reward for Hamas. So, by extension, then, is normalization with Israel a reward for Netanyahu?
I think it's a reward for everyone. Everyone can sign peace. If we get all of these parties, whether the Palestinians and Israelis or other Arab countries and Israelis, to sign peace first, not treat peace as a reward at the end of the process.
Yes, I think Netanyahu doesn't deserve any peace deal with any Arab countries right now, unless Israel recognizes Palestine, and not only recognizes Palestine, but ends its occupation, illegal occupation to Palestine. Only then can we really talk about the Arab Peace Initiative, which requires from Israel a complete withdrawal from all Arab lands that it occupied in 1967. Only then does Israel deserve normalization.
You think Israel is going to withdraw from all Arab lands occupied since 1967? These people are idiots. And again, they're quoting international law, not Islamic law. You're never going to get victory until you return to your deen. The Muslims are in a dire state.
With the Arab world, not because this is a just solution, but because it's a practicable solution, if I may say so.
By October 6th, 2023, the only talk in town was whether or not the Saudis were going to join the Abraham Accord. At that point, when it looked like the people of Gaza would be left to languish and die in that concentration camp, they launched the attack. Once the attack was launched, and Israel retaliated with its genocide in Gaza, every Arab state colluded with the US and Israel in order to see that the people of Gaza were crushed by the Israeli genocide. With the honorable exception of the Houthis, and at a lower level, the Hezbollah, every other leadership in the Arab world left Israel a free hand to murder the people of Gaza. In fact, it was South Africa, not an Arab state. It was South Africa that went to the ICJ to stop the genocide in Gaza. Every Arab state was happy to see Gaza pulverized so that they can re-enter that normalization that was going to occur before October 7th.
Anyone who's not calling for the Israeli Prime Minister to be forced to give up his political position and be imprisoned is not focused on justice. There is no way a regional peace deal between Arab nations and Israel can be signed with that genocidal maniac and his cronies in charge. For the Arab panelists to suggest such a thing under any circumstances makes me think they're both delusional and compromised. Norman was correct when he said throughout this 2-year genocide in Gaza, no Arab state took military or economic action to stop what was happening, except from Yemeni and Lebanese groups. Norman claimed the reason for this complicity with Israel and America was for Arab countries to benefit financially from a normalization deal in the region at the expense of Palestinian lives. I wouldn't just limit this to Arab nations. I extend this inaction and greed to all Muslim countries. Professor Finkelstein added insult to injury when he said these so-called Islamic countries didn't even bother to take legal action, and instead South Africa took the moral responsibility for the matter, which as Muslim people we are extremely grateful for. My intention is to not degrade our Arab brothers and sisters in any way, as the majority of the citizens in Arab and Muslim nations were screaming at their leadership to take action in Gaza. It's simply to point out the weakness and corruption in the people in charge of those countries who are no better than crooked Western politicians. I'll leave you with a hadith quoting the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that sums this up perfectly. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The people will call one another to attack you as if they're feasting." Someone asked, will that be because Muslims will be small in numbers at that time? He replied, no, Muslims will be numerous at that time, but you'll be like garbage floating in the ocean. And due to your disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your enemies will not fear you because your hearts will be weak in faith. Someone asked, what is this weakness? The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, love of the worldly life and dislike of the afterlife. Thank you for watching. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Interesting. Okay. What else we got coming up in my feed? We've got this one. Let's check out everyone's favorite uncle.
Sheikh, I have a question. I enrolled in a course of Amazon selling. I learned from Amazon selling 3 months. Then I came to know that Amazon.
Is that
So
his
I
channel
put
name?
my bitch. So I put my bitch Uncle Umar like his like mom. This evening menu.
What's this? Is that not his channel?
He never respond to me anymore. He gave up. So I put my bitch Uncle Umar like his like mom. This evening menu. He never respond to me anymore. He gave up.
What's this about?
So
Bro, Strawberry Elephant is the best brain ride. No, Meow is the best brain ride. Whoa, why are you guys arguing?
Okay. Al-Muwahideen. Okay, there we go. Videos.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأنصاره وأزواجه وأتباعه أجمعين. السلام عليكم my brothers and sisters. Inshallah today a message to one Saudi, I don't know if Saudi or Yemeni or in between. This Khanzir, I blocked him so many times and he always change the channels. And I know who he is. He had maybe last time I kept him like a dog to park about 60 comments. I don't answer him. But I think he got aggravated, like I get him in trouble about this video of Al Khasran, the new Mufti. I am not bad. I don't have time, honestly, to dig for any filth. I know people by the truth. If someone say the truth, I follow him, I search him. But if it's come back, why? Why waste my time? Anyway, but this one, like, it used to be from the Trinity, the new Trinity of Arabia. Blah, 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 and this is like, all the scholars of Islam are useless except this bloody Trinity. Let's go back to this, the youth. He said, why you with Muhammad? Why Muhammad doesn't go to Islamic State? Even the youth, I think I'm Muhammad father. You think I tell people go here and go there? Why you don't tell him? If you want advice, why don't advise him? And he said he's Iraq, and the man never been Iraq. When I made a video about this Khanzir Kuwaiti guy, Salim Al-Tawil, and he said, I swear by Allah, there's a lot of in common between you and him. Ya Ibn Nagisa, we have something in common with Shaitan. Shaitan, he knows Tawheed. He swore by the name of Allah, wa izzatika wa jalalika. You know. So if there's something between me and Shaitan, well, it's the same. Last comment which really got me. Do you make takfir on Fawzan or no? Fawzan Muslim or Kafir? Jawab. Ya Ibn al-Nagis, I think I'm waiting for your mother. Why you give me order, Ya Ibn al-Nagis? Why? Anna, by the blessing of Allah, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to say Quran. If you like it, you like it. You don't like it, you go to hell, you and your family. Surah An-Nisa, verse 65. فلا وربك أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Oh, this guy's boring, man. Let's see what this is about.
Wenn Sie in einer solchen Position schlafen, ruinieren Sie Ihren Körper und Ihre Atmung. Obstruktive Schlafapnoe tritt auf, wenn Ihre oberen Atemwege während des Schlafs wiederholt.
It's one of the great crimes of the 21st century and being supported by Britain.
The idea that there is an established pattern of deliberate massacre of civilians, I simply reject.
We cannot become part of a lawless international system which uses mass murder as a weapon of war.
If you're looking at British foreign policy interests and who are the powers in the world that explicitly mean us harm, yeah, Britain has every right to supply arms to Israel.
You're denying Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the United Nations. You have explained very well the British policy of staying alongside our ally, but it's taken us into a moral cesspit.
Hello and welcome to The Forecast. Is the UK government complicit in the destruction of Gaza? That's the assertion in the new book by journalist and polemicist Peter Oborne, with both Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak and many of their ministers under fire for backing what he calls Israel's criminal assault following the Hamas attack of October the 7th. What's more, he says the British media played its part too, colluding with the government as well as misrepresenting or underreporting those voices opposed. Well, Peter Oborne is with us today, as well as someone who doesn't necessarily agree with many of these arguments. Edmund Fitton-Brown, a former UK ambassador to Yemen, previously a UN monitor, and now a senior fellow at the foreign affairs think tank RUSI. Peter, the book is called Complicit, and it's, I mean, you don't hold back, and you believe that there are legal and moral wrongs that the British government has committed.
There certainly are. Well, we start off with the atrocities committed by Hamas, terrible atrocities committed on the 7th of October. And then you look at the British government response, start off maybe with Sunak going there, where he was right. It's a bit like after 9/11, you know, Tony Blair going to Washington. What he didn't do was issue warnings. Because by the time Sunak, it was only about 10 days after the 7th of October, he got there. But by then, Israel had started to pummel Gaza. You know, 5,000 had been killed by the Palestinians, being killed by the end of October, 20,000 by the beginning of January. And whole families were being wiped out. They were it was indiscriminate slaughter and destruction. And I'm sure that Sunak, as Prime Minister, would have been briefed about that. And what he never did was issue a proper warning that we can't back you all the way. And the same was the case with the current Prime Minister, Starmer, who made this remarkable support for collective punishment issue on the Nick Ferrari show when he asked, do given a quote from one of the Israeli leaders saying, no fuel, no water, that sort of thing.
It was the defense minister, wasn't it, who said he was going to cut off Gaza.
And Starmer said, yes, they have that right to do that. Although he sort of said also they must obey international law, but it was a shambles of an answer.
But he did qualify it afterwards, didn't he? I mean, they clarified.
He went on supporting it, and his fellow ministers, fellow shadow ministers, supported him for about a week. And then Starmer realised that it had not been a clever thing to say. I mean, it was an outrageous thing to say. He was supporting war crimes.
But your basic contention is that Britain supported its ally.
Yes, absolutely. But that is one part of the contention. Now, that raises the question, profound moral question. You support an ally when they...
Yes, hello, Solomon Godwin. What do you have to say? Your mic is muted, by the way.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Solomon calling from Nigeria.
Hello, Solomon. What do you have to say? Hello. Yeah, well, Solomon's gone quiet there, so until he fixes his microphone, we'll go back to the video.
Commit war crimes when they commit what most experts now regard as a genocide. And it is, you have to remember in the context of this conversation we're going to be having for the next half an hour, the enormity of the horror which Israel inflicted on Gaza. 20,000 children at least dead, killed by the Israelis. Torture. Look at the condition of Israeli prisons. The destruction of 90% of the housing in Gaza. The shooting of children. The targeting of children. The destruction.
Hello, Solomon. What would you like to say? Are you going to speak, Solomon, or shall I remove you?
I just joined the live.
Yes, what would you like to say?
I would have just liked to get down.
Your mic is not working very well.
Can you hear me?
Just like to what? Okay, Solomon, if you have nothing else to say, then I'll remove you from the stage. But if there's something you'd like to tell the audience, go ahead. Okay, thank you. So let's get back to, what's that guy? Is he still around? Wedgedy. What's the name of your channel, Wedgedy?
Is it halal to sit next to opposite genders on a plane? I had Palestine locked in the back room, and now is it halal to sit next to opposite genders on a plane as a man, or do we request change of seats? If you're able to change the seats, then you should change the seat. If you cannot change the seat and you're trapped, then you're you have no choice. You sit there. Obviously, you're not gonna jump out of the plane, but you keep to yourself. Yani you sit and you don't take the armrest where you put your arm there. You're gonna have to put your arm to yourself and kind of just lean on to the opposite side. Make sure that your legs are tucked in. You don't sit there with your legs open and your arm on the other side where there's constant touches and friction happening between you and the lady next to you. Tamam? This is after you fail in being able to relocate. I had Palestine locked in the back room, and now that TI type Free Palestine.
Ustad Abu Mus'ab. Okay. What else we got? Maybe he's got lives that are more recent. Let's check out his lives. Oh, okay, Kashf al-Shubuhat. Okay, Mr. Wajdi, what you got to say, fam?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walaha ma ba'd. We continue with the sharh of Kashf al-Shubuhat. Specifically, we are covering the part of the matan where the Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab alayhi rahmatullah said, واعلم أنه سبحانه من حكمته لم يبعث نبيا بهذا التوحيد إلا جعل له أعداء كما قال الله تعالى وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا. And know that he the exalted based on his ultimate wisdom never sent a prophet with this tawheed except that he made and decreed for him enemies. A'da. As Allah the Exalted said, and such we have made for every prophet enemies, opponents, the shayateen of human and jinn. And that proves to you that there are shayateen among humans. And sometimes the human shayateen are worse than the jinn shayateen. يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا. They inspire one another with the adorned speech out of deceitfulness and to delude the people and confuse them. Now, the Shaykh rahimahullah says in the commentary on the sharh of this particular text, نبه المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى في هذه الجملة على فائدة عظيمة حيث بين أن من حكمة الله عز وجل أنه لم يبعث نبيا إلا جعل له أعداء من الإنس والجن. So the author, may Allah have mercy on him, brought to our attention in this particular sentence a great benefit, highlighting that the wisdom of Allah, the Exalted and Might, entails that he has never sent a prophet except that he made enemies for him from among the ins and the humans and the jinn. وذلك أن وجود العدو يمحص الحق ويبينه. And that is because the presence of the enemy filters out the truth and makes it clearer. فإنه كلما وجد المعارض قويت حجة الآخر. Every time opposition exists, the evidence of the other one becomes stronger. Meaning, this is the truth, and this is falsehood. If there was no falsehood, if there was only truth, then the truth would not shine as much as when there is falsehood that opposes this truth. And so now the truth is even brighter, clearer, and more evident. So the presence of falsehood and the presence of the enemy highlights further the strength and the superiority of the people of the truth and the truth itself. Capish? وهذا الذي جعله الله تعالى الأنبياء جعله أيضا لأتباعهم. And that which Allah Azza wa Jal has made for the prophets, had decreed for the prophets, He has also decreed for their followers. فكل أتباع الأنبياء يحصل لهم مثل ما يحصل للأنبياء. All of those who follow the prophets, it will happen to them what happened to the prophets. قال الله تعالى, Allah the Exalted and Might said, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا شَيَاطِينِ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ يُوحِي بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ زُخْرُفَ الْقَوْلِ غُرُورًا وقال وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا من المجرمين وكفى بربك هاديا ونصيرا. We've already translated the other ayah, the first ayah. The other ayah, and such we have made for every prophet an enemy from among the criminals, and sufficient is your Lord as a guide and an aid and a supporter. فإن هؤلاء المجرمين يعتدون على الرسل وأتباعهم وعلى ما جاءوا به بأمرين. Excuse me, those criminals, they transgress against the messengers and their followers and what they have brought in two ways, in two matters, two affairs. All right? الأول التشكيك. What is تشكيك يا أخوان? يلا, let's get some inner...
Tashkik. Isn't that from Shek?
Some activity and interaction from the honorable crowd. What is
To have doubt, right?
التشكيك? All right, Fufuz, good answer.
Yeah, cast doubt.
All right, Tamam, spreading doubts about it among the people. So the root word is shak. أحسنت يا حذيفة. Tamam. Now, who could quote an ayah that has shak? Who can quote an ayah that has the word shak in it?
An ayah with the word shak. Let's see. I don't know, actually. Go ahead, tell us.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one, my brothers and sisters. Who is going to cite an ayah from the Book of Allah that has the word shak? I am anxiously waiting. Now, you can't be looking it up on your phone. Not yet, at least. We will resort to that option when all fails. أفي الله شك فاطر السماوات والأرض. أحسنت يا كوابا. بل هم في شك يلعبون. أحسنت. Even though I was looking for the first one. I think it's in Surah فصلت. Is it in Surah فصلت or Surah فاطر? قالت لهم رسلهم أفي الله شك فاطر السماوات والأرض يدعوكم. المهم سورة فاطر. تمام. أحسنتم. طيب, so the first one is تشكيك, which is doubt, casting doubt. The second one is العدوان. العدوان. Everybody knows العدوان. Surah Ibrahim. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Why you made me doubt. No problem. Surah Ibrahim. العدوان is from التعدي والعدو and all these words, but basically means transgression. عدوان is to attack and transgress, to violate, to go beyond the acceptable. أما التشكيك فقال الله تعالى في مقابلته وكفى بربك هاديا لمن أراد أن يضله أعداء الأنبياء. As for doubt, Allah tells us in opposition, in response to that, and sufficient is your Lord as a guide. This is for the one whom the enemies of the prophets want to misguide. I think my audio is too loud. My mic volume should be lowered. I think that's better, inshallah. Let me know if this is better, guys. Because I was listening to some of the clips yesterday and I believe I was a little too loud. I could hear me in the background. وأما العدوان فقال الله تعالى في مقابلته ونصير لمن أراد أن يردعه أعداء الأنبياء. As for the transgression and violation, then Allah Azza wa Jal said in response to that, وَنَصِيرًا, that Allah is the supporter to whoever wants to the enemies of the prophets. For those who want to, if they want to stop someone, basically. يَرْدَعُ, meaning to stop him. So if the enemies of the prophet were to stop him, then Allah is telling him that Allah is his supporter. And if the enemies of Allah want to cast doubt, then Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling him, and sufficient Allah is as a guide for you. تمام? فالله تعالى يهدي الرسل وأتباعهم وينصرهم على أعدائهم ولو كانوا من أقوى الأعداء. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He guides the messengers and their followers, and He grants them victory over their enemies, even if they were to be the strongest of enemies. فعلينا أن لا نيأس لكثرة الأعداء وقوة من يقاوم الحق فإن الحق كما قال ابن القيم رحمه الله الحق منصور ومتحن فلا تعجب فهذه سنة الرحمن. So the Sheikh said. So
anyhow, I just wanted to say the Saudis, according to what's that guy's name, Shahid Bolson, he argued for a long time that this normalization approach is a form of 4D chess that the Muslim leaders are playing, and by doing so will achieve a position of strength over the Yahud and the Nasara. Well, is he wrong in that approach? Yes, he's wrong. Okay, they will not achieve strength in that method. However, you can see that this was their plan. What happened is they all signed this Abraham Accord. Saudi Arabia didn't officially sign it, but you know that they're on board with it, and they're trying to, gain acceptance by any type of opposition to sign that accord also. They're supporting all the nations that have signed it. Their thing is, okay, they've got certain enemies. They've decided that their enemies in the region are Iran and any nation and any group that gets help or support from Iran. So that includes in Palestine, or whatever you call that country, the people who were getting support from Iranians in their resistance against the Yahud. So Saudi Arabia's approach was like, okay, we can do a normalization with Israel. We can't fight Iran because we don't have a strong army. We don't have large numbers of troops. We will let Israel fight on our behalf. They will take care of Iran for us. Israel controls America. So America will fight Iran for us. Let them do all the fighting. We will support them in the background. We also don't want Iranian influence in our region. So we'll let them get rid of them too. So that's what happened with Qatar. Do you remember when Saudi Arabia blockaded Qatar? And the group in charge in Gaza has been fought and a lot of them destroyed by the Americans and by the Yahud, by Israel. So Saudi Arabia is like, okay, they've done all the fighting for us. Yeah, 200, 300,000 people, lives were lost. Malnutrition, starvation, or whatever, but that's a small price to pay. It's like a game of chess. You lose a couple of pawns. They're not ours anyway. They're their own people. They don't belong to our tribe. So yeah, let them get lost. And at the same time, we'll do a nice deal with Donald Trump. We'll give him some plush real estate, and we'll be in control of Gaza at the end of it, building a new Dubai. At the same time, the biggest threat from the Israelis is Netanyahu. He'll be gone because he'll be known as what they call a wartime president. And we'll live happily ever after. At the same time, the Palestinians will somehow grow and become economically stronger. They support a Palestinian state of sorts. And Israel will naturally fade away and become weak and obsolete. That's the idea. And Saudi Arabia will become strong. They'll also, by entering the Abraham Accords, be guaranteed, as part of their negotiation, to be given permission legally and lawfully to get a nuclear program for defense purposes as well. So part of that mission was achieved, meaning the demolition of Gaza and an attack on Iran, or several attacks on Iran. However, what happened was Iran struck back at Israel. They gave them a good slap, to the point that Trump had to intervene to put a stop to the conflict. And the Iranians demonstrated some type of strength. There was no invasion. Trump did some type of B-2 bombing exercise to knock out some plants. But Israel was finished. There was the Houthis blocking the ships going there. Israel was done until Saudi Arabia and these Gulf countries are reported to have opened what they call a land bridge, meaning allowing goods to be transported from the UAE through Saudi Arabia to Israel. Unbelievable, huh? Anyhow, their interest is their own nation, or those Gulf nations are some type of group of their own. Now, at the end of it, Israel decided to attack people in Qatar, located in Qatar. Their strike failed, and instead inflicted a fatal casualty among the Qatari population. And that led to the Gulf countries forming a conference discussing on how to respond and what to do. They all met with Donald Trump a few days later and pressured him, insisting that he intervened now and put a stop to this conflict. At which point, suddenly Trump decided to push for a peace plan, which he did. And Netanyahu is continuing to violate. That's where we are. But the idea was, and from even Kushner, is kind of, they're describing Netanyahu as a great wartime president. Yeah. So they don't want him as in the picture when it comes to the peace process. He's done his job as a wartime president or prime minister. His job was to conduct war against Iran and their allies in the region. Now that war is complete. Goodbye, Mr. Netanyahu. Thank you for your help. You're no longer needed. Your services are no longer needed. Now, is Netanyahu going to leave quietly? That's the question. What's going to happen next? So that's the game that's being played. This whole Abraham Accords thing. Netanyahu feels like he's in charge, but they've all had enough of him. They want him gone now. What's going to happen next? You tell me, guys. With that, I'm going to end the show. So thank you for listening. And inshallah, I might come live again soon, inshallah. All right then. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.